A woman named Samantha had always feared flying. It wasn't the mechanic of flight she doubted. She understood turbulence and statistics, but every time the plane rumbled, her heart raced and panic swelled in her chest. One day she flew with her young son, who was delighted by the clouds and the tiny worlds below. His excitement was contagious. Samantha felt her fear shrink for the first time, not because the facts had changed, but because the feelings of joy and safety in her son's presence began to reshape her belief. Maybe this wasn't so terrifying after all, she thought. Without concepts and beliefs, there is no emotional experience. The third step is about working on our concepts, thoughts, past experiences, and beliefs. So far, we have made two steps. In the first step, we started understanding the science behind how emotions are constructed. The second step was learning to be aware of our sensations and core feelings. Without concepts, we have no emotional experiences. We can have affect, as you know, core sensations, pleasant or unpleasant, calm or agitated, but there is no emotional experience without concepts. When you look at the rainbow, you see discrete stripe of color, but in nature a rainbow has no stripes. It's a continuous spectrum of light without any borders. Why do you see stripes? Because you have mental concepts of colors like blue, orange, and yellow. Your brain automatically uses these concepts to group together the wavelengths in certain range of the spectrum, categorizing them as the same color. Concepts in your brain represents everything you perceive around you. Your concepts are the primary tool your brain uses to guess the meaning of incoming sensory inputs. For example, concepts give meaning to changes in pressure to sounds, so you hear them as words or music instead of random noise. With concepts, your brain simulates so invisibly and automatically that vision, hearing, and other senses seem like reflexes rather than constructions. Your perceptions are so vivid and immediate that they compel you to believe that you experience the world as it is, when you actually experience the world of your own construction. From your brain perspective, your body is just another source of sensory input. Sensations from your heart and lungs, changing temperature, and so on are meaningless. These purely physical sensations inside your body have no objective psychological meaning. However, once your concepts enter the picture, those sensations might take an additional meaning. Emotions are meaning-making process. Even existentialist philosophers like Sartre and Camus recognize that individuals are actively involved in producing emotions to deal with life situations. Sometimes we choose emotions as a coping mechanism. For example, if a person faces a problem that seems insurmountable, they might fall into despair, which makes the problem seem irrelevant because in despair the person quits trying, essentially predicting or accepting a world where that situations can be solved anyway. The function of depression can be seen as the body's way of forcing a shutdown when one's effort fails repeatedly. These are all our interpretations. The existentialist dilemma is finding meaning in life where there is no inherent meaning in life. This perspective adds a layer to the biological and psychological mechanism of emotions is essential to work on our life purpose. In the PDF, you will find an interesting exercise for this. We know that the brain tries to interpret the world through bodily sensations, but how does it construct experiences of emotions? We construct experiences of emotions through categorization. Every perception, thought, memory, and other mental event that we experience is built through categorization. Concepts are mental representations of a category. Scientists define a category as a collection of objects, events, or actions that are grouped together for some purpose. So let's say that I see my favorite car, a blue Maserati Grecale. That car, as a category, exists in the world, while the concept of a blue car, like a prototype, exists in my head with many variations. According to Feldman Barrett, similar things happen with emotions, with the exception that every concept's prototype has had significant variability. Your brain likely constructs prototypes as you need them on the spot. So concepts aren't fixed definitions in your brain, and they are not prototypes of the most typical instances. Instead, your brain has many instances of cars or happiness or anything else, and it imposes similarities between them in the moment according to your goal in a given situation. We call them goal-based concepts, which are flexible and adaptable to the situation. The good thing is that we can adapt any concept to our goal. You can use your car for transportation, or it can be a concept of status symbol, or in other circumstances it can be a bed. So we construct our emotions on the concept level. Everything fits in when we know that we conceptualize it according to our past experiences, beliefs, and goals. Goal-based concepts are incredibly empowering tools in your emotional asset construction. When your brain needs a concept, it constructs on the fly, mixing and matching past experiences with present sensations to best fit your goal in a situation. Imagine having concepts and emotions perfectly aligned with your future goals. So let's elaborate a bit more on the idea that emotions are shaped by goals. As Benjamin Hardy states in his book Personality Isn't Permanent, your goals shape your reality. According to ancient teleology, Greek philosophy, all human behavior is fundamentally driven by its purpose or goal. If you know your goal, the direction of your focus, then you know what kind of emotion it's worth conceptualizing. Here is a good exercise. Let's find out if you know what your goal was in the last 24 hours. Take a piece of paper and draw a line down the center. On the left side, write activity. On the right, write reason. List all the activities you can remember doing in the past 24 hours. How we spend our time matters. It reflects our goals. Where are goals coming from? First of all, your goals are based on what you have been exposed to, what you learn, what you read, where you travel, and what kind of experiences you are exposed to. Secondly, you are engaged in things you enjoy it, you desire it or want it. And thirdly, Your confidence is the basis of your goals, which reflects your belief in what you can accomplish. Your concepts are shaped by your past experiences, beliefs, and goals. You can put yourself in a challenging mindset, questioning your attitudes towards your past experiences and goals to create emotions that facilitate a better future self. You get whatever results you are committed to. Past experiences shapes emotions as well. We learn concepts from our early moments by observing our environment and parents' reactions, expressions, and words. These constitute our past experiences. We can combine ideas to create something new. Each of us has unique past experiences. We learn different lessons from our surroundings and parents. One situation may mean one thing to me and entirely different to my partner. Various stimuli provoke different reactions. Evidence suggests that we do not precisely remember what occurred in the past. Rather, we construct our recollections from certain remembered moments, feelings, words, and images. Importantly, we are not merely subject of our past, but interpreters of those experiences, informed by our current knowledge and beliefs. The good news is that our past does not define us, because our minds can create new concepts. Beliefs shapes emotions. Beliefs are typically defined as a mental state or attitude in which an individual holds a proposition to be true. We accept certain information as factual, regardless of its actual truth. Beliefs are formed and shaped by personal experiences, social influences, cultural background, and by our cognitive processes like perception and memory. It's worth understanding the psychological mechanism of belief formation, which has at least three main aspects. The first is pattern recognitions. Humans have an inherent tendency to identify patterns, even where none exist, leading to the formation of beliefs based on perceived connection. Secondly, conformity. Individuals often align their beliefs with those of group to gain acceptance. Interactions within social networks can significantly impact belief systems. Several experiences demonstrated that social pressure could lead individuals to conform to group opinions, even against their own perceptions. Thirdly, illusory truth effect, which means repetition of a statement is perceived truthful, even if it's false. This effect demonstrates how familiarity can influence beliefs in information. Just think about news media. So beliefs can significantly influence emotions and behaviors. Because beliefs do not objective realities, it's essential to question and challenge them. Beliefs can be unlearned and reshaped. I learn to evaluate my beliefs and try to discover why I believe things and what is the truth in my attitudes. From my personal experience, there is a tremendous benefit to challenging your own beliefs. I used to be a religious person before I started to question why I believe things. And one of my best shortcuts to changing beliefs was the question, how can I differentiate what is real from what is my imagination? Here is another exercise. Take a few moments and find at least 3 limiting beliefs that are restricting you from achieving your goals. Let's take an example of a limiting belief. Uncertainty is a bad thing. I don't like uncertainty and I want to avoid it. Is that true? No. Embracing uncertainty can be a really good asset. As Harvard psychologist Dr. Ellen Langer explains, if there are meaningful choices, there is uncertainty. If there is no choice, there is no uncertainty. If you are unwilling to face and interact with uncertainty, then you are greatly limited who you are and what you have become. Uncertainty can be difficult to handle, according to Dr. Dapna Sohami, neuroscientist at Columbia University, said, "The primary purpose of our brain is to predict the outcomes of our behavior. Our brain's most important utility is to predict through our emotions. So based on our evolutionary background, the default tendency is to avoid uncertainty. For this reason, when you are in a new situation or trying something you have never done before, you often get a rush of feelings which we instinctively interpret as anxiety or fear. Our automatic fight or flight nervous system has a bunch of chemical signals that prepare us for uncertainty, but it is in our power to interpret it as a prediction error. Failing, learning, and changing is essential. So if you want to accelerate your learning, you must embrace uncertainty. You will need to take risks and make mistakes. We were talking a bit about negative beliefs, but we have to deal with negative thoughts as well. Thoughts that pop up into our minds uninvited. They can make you experience negative emotions, and most of the time they are not even true. Here are several examples. Do you recognize any of these negative thought patterns? Like black and white thinking, which can start with always, never, every time, or nothing. For example, he never listens to me. No one cares about me. Another one, negativity bias, which focuses on fear, failure. For example, I am so disappointed. He's never going to be better. The world is more dangerous than ever. Another one, guilt beating, which starts with should, must, or have to. For example, you should have done that. You ought to do this. Or we are labeling ourselves or someone else. I am an idiot. He is a jerk. I'm a loser. Or mind reading. What others are thinking about me. So for example, everyone thinks I'm stupid. They are laughing at me. Or blaming others for my problems. Becoming a victim of circumstances. It is his fault. She ruins my night. Or comparing ourselves with others in a negative sense. I am not good enough. I am not pretty enough. So the good news is you can replace them with more helpful thoughts. You are not what you think. Thoughts come automatically, and just because you have a thought, it has nothing to do with whether it's true. If you do not question your thoughts, you will believe them and act as if they are true. Thoughts are powerful. Every time you have a thought, your brain releases chemicals. Thoughts are real and they have a powerful impact on how you feel and behave. Every time you have an angry, unkind, hopeless, helpless, worthless, or irritating thought, such as "I'm stupid," your brain releases chemicals that make you feel bad. In this way, your body reacts to every negative thought you have. Similarly, whether you have a happy, hopeful, kind, optimistic, or positive thought, your brain releases chemicals that make you feel good. When people are happy, their muscles relax, their hearts beat more slowly, their hands become dry, and they breathe more evenly. We are more inclined to have negative thoughts. From an evolutionary standpoint, negative thoughts protect us from danger. Unfortunately, even as the world has become safer, the negativity bias has persisted in our brains. Researchers have shown that negative experiences have a greater impact on the brain than positive ones. The bad news is quickly stored in the brain to keep us safe, but positive experiences must be held in our consciousness for more than 12 seconds before they remain with us. So you are not your thoughts. It's important to examine them and see if they are true and if they are helping you or hurting you. In the PDF, you will find Dr. Daniel Amen's 7 strategies for controlling your thoughts and Byron Katie 5 question methods. In conclusion, with concepts, we create emotional experiences. Our thoughts and concepts are shaped by our past experiences, beliefs, and goals. These elements are in our hands, and we can interpret, re-evaluate, and change them according to our desired future. I will wrap this session with an interesting exercise. Practice the habit of conversation with your future self. Thinking about yourself, what would happen if your future self came to you and told you that everything you want to see happen was going to happen? Would you believe them? The answer better be yes, because unless you believe it, it's not going to happen. You need to be fully committed to becoming your future self and all that involves. I hope you will enjoy this exercise and see you next time.